Hi folks, at the Fairy Village woods, yes. Well, it took me a while to remember, it's the woods as well. So there you go. Right, well certainly the first topic for today is something that came on my mind about 4 or 5 days ago. The fact that the Christian church is in no better situation now than the Church of Latter-day Saints or Jehovah's Witness Church. They're all basically on the same level as to the likelihood that they're going to get it right, or they are right. You know, that was just a point that came on my mind. So I thought, okay, interesting one, because a lot of people would assume Christian country, and that my previous name for the channel was a normal Christian. So obviously, Christianity was where I've come from. Yeah. But I've seen just how useless and demonic that is. So if that is useless and demonic, is it any better than the others? The answer is not really. Not in the practicality for people. Not really. However, in looking at this subject, you've got to look at a few things. The Christian church, does most of the people do evangelism? No. There's a sign, Fairy Village. There you go. No, most of the people don't do evangelism. Most of the people really couldn't care less about evangelism. If they want any gift, it'd be the gift of healing, because it's more attractive. You get a quicker result. So that's what they want. But most people have no ministry and don't know if they're ever going to have a ministry, don't really care if they're ever going to have a ministry in the Christian church. In the Jehovah's Witness church, most people have, certainly before COVID, been involved in door-to-door. Church Saturday Saints as well, they send their people all around the world, don't they, to go and do the same, go door-to-door, spreading the word. So when you think about it from the point of view of what was the Christian church told to do? Go and do what these other churches are doing, and yet which church really isn't doing it? Christian church. Pretty much. Although, of course, there are people who are evangelists and are called to be sent all around the world to different places. But aren't we all supposed to evangelise? Isn't that the point? We're all supposed to be led and guided and evangelising in our ways and through the way we live. Because if we understand that the old man is supposed to die, and the old man does die, then we become a new creation. That new creation should be completely different to the people that we were like before. And that's a way of evangelising. But have we been doing that? Nope, because most people in churches are still the old man. The old man has not died. So, we're now at this situation where, look, had I been asked 10 years ago, do I think that the Christian church is doing well? The answer would be no. No, I think the Christian church, that's what I would have said 10 years ago, I think the Christian church is probably equivalent to being on a life support machine, spiritually. You hear this noise constantly around here. That's an ambulance, that's one thing. But it's a constant around here. Sirens. Ugh. Yeah. Anyway, getting back to the point. Yes. I wouldn't have been overly positive about it. Not at that point. Now, it's even worse, because now I've gone back to a church and realised just the complete state of it. Pentecostal church that won't even lay hands on people. It's astonishing. It really is. Just 90 years ago the Pentecostal church was first formed. About that. Maybe a bit more, but not much. And it was a church that really understood that the whole purpose was the spiritual gifts. We're supposed to flow in that. And they did at the beginning. Look at them now. Look, basically, they've just receded back like every other church. They've just become exactly the same as every other church. And I've said before, because it's safe. That's the point, because it's safe. If things go wrong, you can't really be blamed because you're doing things exactly the same as everyone else. And yeah, fear. That's fear-based religion, that's not faith-based. So, well, we're talking about fear-based with regard to the other religions, shall we? Jehovah's Witness and Church Latter-day Saints. I'm pretty sure it's the same with the Latter-day Saints as it is with Jehovah's Witnesses. If a person has been part of your church and then they leave, they pretty much get ostracized. As in, the whole family, their work colleagues and whoever they knew from the church is not really allowed to speak to them or really have an awful lot to do with them anymore. That includes family members. Yeah. Now, again, fear-based, that's basically the church saying we are so incredibly fragile that we believe that this person could destroy our church if our people were still involved with them. That's one way that actually describes that. Another way is, well, it can't be God in any way, shape or form, because God is love. If God is love, how is it love to say you're going to separate brothers and sisters, mothers and fathers, children from their parents? Friendships are going to break up because that person's left a belief system. At least with the Christian belief, that's never been the case. We don't turn our backs on people because they go away from the church. If anything, we try a bit more to show love towards them, to bring them back. That's the way it should be. I mean, at worst, they're just the same as everyone else in society now. They've gone away from God, so they're not with God. You should never be turning your back on people in that sort of situation. So it's incredibly fear-based, but it's also, as I say, it shows just where those beliefs are coming from. That they're not coming from God, because God's approach to that is get the person back. Don't force the person back because they're afraid of losing contact with their family or with their loved ones, with their friends, their husband, their wife, their children. It's you sort of blackmail people to come back to the church, to come back to a belief that they don't believe in anymore. How is that any use? No, I could be completely wrong. As I say, I'm not sure if the Church of Latter-day Saints does that. But with the Church of Latter-day Saints, I mean, from what I understand, it seems to be a Masonic church. Part of the Masonic order. It seems to be that's what that church is. That church was created for that purpose, to have a sort of Masonic church. Which is okay, let them have their church, I don't care. But this whole point of their beginnings, where, what they say their beginnings were, you just look into it, you just question it, and you know that it's complete nonsense. I'm not talking about the complete nonsense like where the Bible talks about a year is like 1,000 years, and so therefore basically creation was 10,000 years ago, when we know that's probably unlikely. It would have been quite a bit more than that, but so that can seem a little bit off, can't it, to people? But as I say, that's what looking at without understanding. Look at the understanding of Church of Latter-day Saints. Certainly look at their beginnings. Look at the man, Joseph Smith. Look at his character. Who was he? Not just beforehand. I mean, beforehand, you can say, okay, was he a bad person before God appeared to him and gave him the tablets? Okay, that's okay, because, where he came from is not the problem. It's who he is during and afterwards, isn't it, really? But if he was still a bad person, if he continued in those ways, then he's not a man of God. Again, Is he going to be someone who's going to be the creator of a new belief? Yeah, that God is going to use as the example for a new belief. So, because we all do things wrong. So I'm not saying that he had to be perfect. None of us are that. But I say, look at the teachings, look at the understanding. Because their belief is that John the Apostle never died. I've shared this before. John the Apostle never died, but they believed there was a time when there were no Christians upon the earth. Okay? Well, again, that doesn't make sense. Because John the Apostle never died. The one who wrote the book of Revelations. He's still alive, apparently. But he was still alive, and at one time, he stopped being a follower of God. Really? Then why wasn't he picked to be the leader of the Church of Latter-day Saints? Yeah. Surely he would have been the one that God would have picked. He was picked as part of the beginnings of the Christian faith. Yeah. According to the New Testament, he was there in the beginning of that belief. And he was part of that. He wrote the book of Revelations. He wrote other books in there as well. In the Bible. Why wasn't he picked? He never died. And I say, look at all the beliefs. They've all got things wrong. All got things that when you look at it, you've got to say big questions. But none of them are right. I suppose that's the point. When it comes down to it, none of them are right. Now, at one point, Christianity was more right than the others, but it's gone in a bad direction. I've said before, the whole point of having people trained in the Bible college and trained in the same way, yeah, not good. Having churches basically having the same patterns and the same designs for every single church, pretty much. Yeah, again, not of God. If it's not of God, it's got to be of somebody. So if it's not of God, then who is it of? Yeah, same as a big question. If we're supposed to be not of the world, we're supposed to be of, there's only heaven. It can only be heaven that we can be of. So, yeah, if you're not of God, then you have to be of the devil. Yeah, if the way the church is not of God, then it has to be of the devil. Because there is no third option. There's either of God or of the devil. So there you go. The Christian church was at some point in time, and has been at times in its history, of God. But the problem is, it's been controlled by man. You know, God has been able to actually, lead it and guide it for a short amount of time. Same as he had the same issues with the Jews. It's the same thing with the Jewish people. Sometimes they were right with God, and the other times they went on their own little way because an influence came in, and that became the influence rather than God being the influence. And in the church, it's been fear-led for a long, long time. All this grace and mercy stuff. From the church's point of view, not talking about sin, not talking about consequences, not talking about being on your journey and being held accountable to each other. None of that sort of talking is just fear-based. As I said, you only talk about accountability if you want to be held accountable. You don't talk about accountability if you're not prepared to be accountable. And in church, as I say, the pastor doesn't want to talk about it, the congregation doesn't want to talk about it, generally speaking. That's not every church. Some churches, they will have a good amount of accountability there. But most, no. Look, I've talked about the preaching in the Christian churches. I don't imagine you're going to get fiery preaching, in the Jehovah's Witnesses churches or Latter-day Saints churches. I imagine it's going to be pretty much on the same level as the Christian churches. It's going to be good sort of according to their Bible. Yeah, but nothing really challenging, nothing really that's going to set people on fire and change their lives. It's all demonic. That's the problem. It's all about keeping people at a low level of belief and a low level of understanding where they're never going to really do anything, never going to really make a difference. You know, I left a message on one of the YouTube channels I watch. It's it's comments with Brett Cooper, something like that. Very attractive young lady, American, right wing. But the comment I left earlier was simply on the point of saying, okay, you're commenting on what the left are doing, on the stupidity of the left, great. But every right-wing channel is basically doing what you're doing. Why not do something different? Why not comment on the stupidity of the right wing as well? Yeah? You're talking about accountability for the other side. You're not talking about accountability for your side. Remember your side that you had the president recently, but he got beaten by Joe Biden, by an old fuddery-duddery. Right? Certainly according to your belief about Joe Biden, he's a fuddery-duddery. So therefore your bloke got beaten by him. Yeah, if your side can learn their lessons, if your side can actually deal with their own stupidity, the left won't get in again. You can get in and you can actually deal with the things that need to be dealt with, rather than simply highlighting it. You know, making sure that people know that you're right wing and speaking to your supporters. Yeah, why not speak about the issues that you have? Well, I mean, as the Lord said, take the plank out of your eye before talking about the speck in someone else's. Yeah, you have this with the left and right. They won't look at their own issues. Wouldn't it be fantastic if there was actually a YouTube channel of the left or the right that actually looked at all the stupidity in politics? You know, left or right. Just was fair across the board and just looked at it from the point of view that what we want is better conversation. What we want is to deal with all the idiot things that people are saying and get rid of all that stuff so we can actually have, so we can actually sort the stuff out. Yeah, that's the thing. Let's deal with all that insane rubbish so we can actually have conversations where we can work together and find a middle ground where we can make this country a better place. So we can make the world a better place. Yeah? I was watching something earlier, it was a real time with Bill Maher, and there was this English chap on there. An English chap said something very interesting. He said, well, at the moment there are 40 million slaves in the world. 40 million slaves. And yet America is so bothered about the slavery problem of the past and basically saying to white people, oh, you are out of order because of what your ancestors did and we're blaming you for it. That if they just actually shut up about that, about the past, and focus on what's going on now, they can actually solve some problems for people. The thing of it is, they don't want to solve problems for people, do they? What they want to do is bitch and moan about, what their ancestors had to go through. They themselves didn't have to go through it. The people bitching about slavery and the people bitching about all this stuff didn't have to go through it. The women bitching about equal rights, most of them didn't have to go through the struggle to get equal rights. Most of them didn't. Now, there's still a few who are of the age who had to go for it, but the majority didn't have to go for it. So what they should be doing, really, certainly, if you look at women's rights and equal rights for women, go and take a look at Saudi Arabia, go and take a look at places like that. Go and make an effort to get that sorted out. Going back to the original point about the churches, about the belief systems, at the moment, it's, I don't know. I mean, I think there are probably people who are God's people in the Christian church, Jehovah's Witness church, and the Church of Latter-day Saints. I think in the latter days, I think God's going to pull those people out, and those people will be the people that God's going to use to do the work at the end. I certainly am not going to be arrogant and say, oh no, it's only going to be from the Christian church. God doesn't care about that sort of crap. He's going to look at your heart. Do you have that heart? Do you have that drive inside? Do you have that desire to just be a blessing to people? Because if you do, God's going to use that, and God's going to say, right. Well, basically, do you have a desire to be a solution rather than a continuation of a problem? And that's what I was talking about, the right and the left as well. Because it is the same thing, isn't it, really? What we need is people who want to be a solution. Instead, we simply have people that want to be a problem. It's like we've got to stop with that sort of thinking. Certainly, if you care about the things you're talking about, then, look, as I say, if you are right-wing, and you care about what the left is doing, then your primary concern has to be, not should be, but has to be, sorting out your own side to make sure that you get back in. One sec, someone comes. Hi. How you doing? I'm just going to continue around for a bit because, yeah, I'm not finished yet, I don't think. I'm finished when God says I'm finished. So I don't think I'm finished yet, so I'll continue a bit. Now, as I say, it just makes sense, doesn't it? You know, if you're on the left, it's the same thing. Don't focus on what the right side's doing, focus on what the left side is doing. Because the weaknesses on your side is what's going to get your side voted out. Yeah, I really don't think the people who are centrist are really looking at what you're saying, focusing upon the right, because what they're looking at is the people who speak loudest. And the people who speak loudest are the people that are causing the bigger problems in your party. They're the ones shouting and screaming, and they're the ones that people in society, people in your country are hearing. Certainly people in the middle who are going to affect the vote. So if you want your side, whether it's Biden or Kamala Harris, to be the one in charge next time, you've got to sort out your party. It's your party that's the problem, it's not the opposition. It is always the case. The opposition is never the reason that you don't get in. You are. And that's the same with the right and the same with the left. You know, it's just nonsense, you know, pandering to... Well, brings back the point of what I was saying about Jehovah's Witnesses ostracising people. You know, it's about being afraid of, you know, well, put it this way, someone who comes out of your belief, that person may have something to say about your belief system. And the first thing you should want to do is really find out what that is. Yeah. If someone leaves, invite them in. Find out why. Why did they leave? Yeah, first of all, you want them to come back. Right? So you want to show them love. Invite them in, tea, coffee, cake. Yeah? Treat them with love. But listen to what they have to say, because they might be saying something you need to hear. And as I've said before, whenever someone says to you something that is, you know, challenging you, they might be wrong. But they might be right. And even if the way they're saying it, put it this way, if someone has left your church because they're angry with something, when you ask them why, they might reply with a bit of anger. If you choose to only focus on the way they said things, you're going to miss what they said. The most important thing is what they say. Then simply go to God and say, is what they said true? is what they said true? If it's true, then I need to appropriate that. You know, we need to learn from that. If it isn't true, Father, bless this person. They have an understanding that's perverted somehow. You know, bring them back to us and bless them. Simple. You don't need to ostracize people. Anyway, I'm going to leave you to it. You take care. God bless. I'll speak to you soon. Bye-bye.